the anatomy of a muscle cell. So it's important to know the parts of the muscle cell because it's hard to understand how the muscle is working if you don't know what's doing what and understand that. So make sure you know what the parts are. So in a muscle cell, we have a plasma membrane, but we don't call it a plasma membrane. It's called the sarcolemma. And again, it's just the plasma membrane of the cell. Whoops, sorry. Of the muscle cell, okay? This whole thing is a muscle cell. Okay, not this. This is not the muscle cell. This whole thing is the muscle cell. So this outer covering here is the sarcolemma, or the plasma membrane. The muscle cell is made up of, you should know this from the last video, it's made up of myofibrils. And that's what these things are. These are all myofibrils. Myofibrils are again full of myofilaments. Those thick filaments and the thin filaments. Okay? So, other little parts of the cell, you can see this thing here, that's a mitochondria. Mitochondria is going to be numerous in a muscle cell because muscle cells are extremely metabolic. They need ATP in order to do their function. There's cytoplasm here, and there's going to be other stuff in there too. This is a cell, just like any other cell. It just has these extra things in it called the myofibrils, but there's other things in there too, like other cells have. And one of those things that they have is this little area right here. And that little spider webby looking thing is called the Sarcoplasmic Reticulum. So the sarcoplasmic reticulum is wrapped around each one of these myofibrils, and they function to store ionic calcium. Okay, because we'll see that we need calcium in order to have muscle contraction. Okay, so if you're also looking at this sarcolemma, you can see where the sarcolemma is here. Whoops, can't ever get the color right. So the sarcolemma is here, and you can see these little things that look like holes, and they are holes. So the sarcolemma comes like this, and then it invaginates into these little holes. And these holes create these structures called T-tubules. And the T-tubules wrap around the myofibrils. So these yellow things right here are the T-tubules. Right here and right here. And they are wrapping around the myofibrils there. And you can see this little thing right there. That is the hole that's coming from the sarcolemma. So the T-tubule is really just an invagination. So it's the same tissue as the sarcolemma. So all these yellow things are T-tubules. Okay? So if we look at this T-tubule here, the T-tubule is wrapped around the myofibril, and around it or with it is the sarcoplasmic reticulum. And you can see on the sarcoplasmic reticulum, it starts to get like thicker near the T-tubule. So these little thickenings have special names to them. So the little thickenings are called terminal cisternae. And there's a terminal cisternae on either side of the T-tubule. So we've got a terminal cisternae here, then you've got your T-tubule, then you've got another terminal cisternate there. So together, those three things create a triad. Okay, so the triad is a T-tubule with its terminal cisternate on either side of it. Okay, it's very important anatomical place as far as understanding what's happening during muscle contraction. All right, anything else we want to talk about here? Down here, so that's a the muscle cell, sorry. Here's the nucleus. Here's a nucleus here. This thing here is the sarcolemma, because it's right jutting up against those myofibrils. So this is not endomysium. Endomysium is not shown here. Okay, so don't look at it as that. Okay, so let's look at an individual myofibril, because we know this is a myofibril, and the myofibril is made up of myofilaments. So this is a myofibril, and you can see there are thick filaments and thin filaments there. The thick filaments are red. All right, and the thin filaments are blue. And if you look at this right here, where that's pointing, and this right here, there is a set of actin protein that's kind of wrapped around the myofibril in a sort of a zigzagged line. That is called the Z line. So Z line here, Z line here. And to either side of it, you can see the actin filaments are anchored off of that thing. Okay? Those actin filaments are coming out of the Z line, and they are situated between the thick filaments, which are the red lines there. This other line here, that is where the myosin or the thick filaments are anchored, and that is called the M line. The M line, okay? So this is here an M line here as well. All right? That structure of the thick filaments with the thin filaments are what give the skeletal muscle and cardiac muscle, frankly, that striated look. So right here you can see that there's only actin right here. Okay, so it's a little bit lighter, right? That's called an I band. There's an I band here. And then in the middle here, where you've got some layering of actin and myosin, you've got the M line here. That band is called the A band. And that's what creates the structure of the striations, the striated look on your slides there. Okay. So the area between a Z line and another Z line, so Z line here to Z line here, that area is called the sarcomere. And that is the functional unit of muscle, of skeletal muscle and cardiac muscle, okay? When contraction occurs, the muscle is going to shorten, and it does this by the myosin pulls on the actin and pulls those Z lines together. So you've got a Z line here, a Z line here, and they come this way. So let's say here's the M line. So it pulls the actin, or those Z lines, toward the M line there. And that's what shortens the muscle. That's what causes contraction. These myofibrils are made up of many sarcomeres. Here's a Z line. Here's a Z line. There's another Z line somewhere over here. There's another one. There's another Z line over here. There's another one and another one. We kind of say that looks like it's like boxcars on a train put together. So all those sarcomeres during contraction are going to shorten to result in a contraction of the muscle. All right. So that's the basic anatomy that you need to know to understand how muscle contraction works.